This is PSN Newsrun, streaming exclusively on YouTube.
Welcome to PSN Newsrun. Our top stories: Mandarin, Chinese language, to be taught in Nigerian secondary schools. Rivers State begins a new chapter with the return of Siminilayi Fubara. And on sports, Nigeria drops to 45th in FIFA global ranking. Stay with us for details and more. We begin with the education sector, where the federal government has added Mandarin, the Chinese language, to Nigeria's secondary school curriculum, a move officials say will boost global competitiveness and strengthen ties with China. Here's Joycelyn with more.
The federal government has introduced Chinese language into Nigeria's secondary school curriculum, a move officials say will boost global competitiveness. The government announced that Mandarin Chinese will be taught in senior secondary schools across Nigeria as part of the revised national curriculum. The Ministry of Education explained that the decision was made to strengthen cultural and economic ties with China, Nigeria's largest trading partner. Officials say the inclusion of Chinese alongside other foreign languages like French and Arabic will give students an edge in global opportunities. Education experts, however, are divided. Supporters describe the move as forward-thinking, while critics argue that local languages should receive equal or greater emphasis to preserve Nigeria's cultural identity. With this development, students in public and private secondary schools will soon be able to learn Chinese formally, a step the government says reflects Nigeria's commitment to preparing youths for a globalized world. As classrooms prepare for the new subject, the challenge will be balancing global ambition with the protection of Nigeria's linguistic heritage. Reporting for PS News, Joycelyn Ella Keche Ada.
On the oil and gas sector, fresh turmoil deepens as Dangote faces four marketers' ultimatum, a subsidy battle, and a union clash, all raising big questions on pump prices and fuel supply. Marianne brings us details.
Nigeria's downstream oil sector is on the edge as fuel marketers, labor unions, and the Dangote refinery clash over pricing, smuggling allegations, and the control of the fuel supply chain. First, the Depot and Petroleum Product Marketers Association of Nigeria, DAPMAN, has given Dangote's Industries 7 days to prove its claim that the depot owners are fueling large-scale petrol smuggling. The marketers insist the allegations are false and damaging, warning they may seek legal actions if no evidence is produced. At the same time, the pricing battle is intensifying. Dangote's refinery says DAPMAN members are pushing the federal government to approve a 1.5 trillion naira yearly subsidy to bridge the gap between their depot rates and the Dangote's grantory price. Marketers argue that without subsidies, pump prices could soar, worsening inflation and consumers' hardship. Dangote, however, maintains its pricing is fair and designed to end decades of chronic shortages. On a separate front, labor tensions also threaten for stability. The Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPEG, had placed its members on a strike over alleged anti-union practices. But a federal court has now issued an injunction stopping the union from disrupting operations at the refinery, at least for now. From subsidy demands to smuggling allegations and union disputes, the refinery's dominance in fuel supply is triggering new rivalries that could reshape Nigerians' downstream sector and ultimately decide how much Nigerians pay at the pump. Marianne Awiya, PS News.
Meanwhile, the celebration in Rivers State as a new chapter begins with President Tinubu lifting emergency rule and reinstating Governor Sim Fubara. Ella's got the full scoop on this one.
There's relief and celebration in Rivers State as President Bola Tinubu has lifted the emergency rule, reinstating Governor Siminilayi Fubara after weeks of political uncertainty. The federal government's decision marks the end of a tense chapter that began with emergency measures imposed to contain political violence and institutional breakdown in Rivers. President Tinubu announced the restoration of democratic order on Thursday, allowing Governor Fubara to return to office. Almost immediately, Rivers people poured into the streets of Port Harcourt and other towns, celebrating Fubara's reinstatement as a victory for the democracy and the will of the people. Jubilant crowds carried placards, chanting solidarity songs in support of their governor. At the same time, the Rivers State House of Assembly reconvened for its first plenary session since the emergency rule was declared. Lawmakers pledged to resume their legislative duties, signaling an attempt to normalize governance in the state. Meanwhile, former governor and current FCT minister Nyesom Wike has commended President Tinubu for what he described as a courageous decision to end the emergency rule. Wike said the move would help restore peace and stability in Rivers, even as analysts warn that deep political divisions still remain. The lifting of emergency rule may have restored constitutional order in Rivers, but whether peace and cooperation will follow depends on how key players, including Fubara, Wike, and the Assembly, navigate their fragile relationship in the weeks ahead. Ella Okechukwu, PS News.
In Abuja, the FCT Police Commissioner has met with Miyetti Allah leaders in a bid to end open cattle grazing and roaming, a move aimed at easing tension and modernizing livestock management. Joycelyn is here with details.
The Federal Capital Territory Police Command is stepping up efforts to end open cattle grazing in Abuja. FCT Commissioner of Police held a strategic meeting with leaders of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria as part of moves to curb cattle roaming in the capital city. Police say the meeting focused on finding lasting solutions to the persistent herder-farmer tensions and complaints from residents about free-roaming cattle disrupting traffic and damaging farmlands. According to the command, Miyetti Allah leaders pledged cooperation and agreed to sensitize their members on the need to embrace ranching and modern livestock practices. Authorities insist the dialogue marks the first step in enforcing Abuja's grazing ban, with the aim of balancing security, livelihoods, and urban order in the nation's capital. Reporting for PS News, Joycelyn Ella Keche Ada.
Meanwhile, in a shocking twist, bandits in Katsina State are demanding schools and hospitals as part of peace talks with the state government. Daniel files in this report.
The Katsina State government has revealed a controversial twist in peace negotiations, and bandits are demanding the construction of schools and hospitals as part of their conditions for peace. Talks between government officials and armed groups in Katsina have taken an unexpected turn. Authorities say the bandits, notorious for kidnappings and attacks across the northwest, are now pushing for social infrastructure as part of their bargaining chips in ongoing peace efforts. Government sources confirm that while the demands seem unusual, they reflect how neglected communities in rural areas have become fertile ground for violence. The bandits insist that improved access to education and healthcare could help reduce tensions and win them over to peace. Security experts, however, warn that granting such conditions risks legitimizing criminal groups and undermining state authority. Critics argue that the government must strike a balance between addressing deep-rooted poverty and upholding the rule of law. As negotiations continue, the Katsina deal raises tough questions for Nigeria. Can peace be bought with development projects, or will it set a dangerous precedent for future conflicts? Reporting for PS News, Daniel Okejeme.
On the international scene, Israel has pulled state funding from its top film awards after a Palestinian story won the highest honor, sparking a heated debate over politics and artistic freedom. Here's Marianne's report.
Israel has cut fundings for its national film awards after a Palestinian-themed film won the festival's highest honor. The controversy began when a Palestinian director's story, highlighting life under occupation, claimed the top prize at the Israel's most prestigious film event. The victory sparked sharp criticisms from government officials who accused the award bodies for promoting politically divisive narrative. In response, Israel's Culture Ministry announced it would immediately withdraw state funding from the annual awards, a move that has drawn backlash from filmmakers and free speech advocates. They argue that arts should remain a platform for diverse voices, not a battleground for politics. Critics warn that the withdrawal of fundings could have far-reaching consequences for Israel's creative industry, shrinking opportunities for young filmmakers and pushing artistic expressions into private hands. As the debate deepens, the clash over film and politics is shaping up to be more than an award controversy. It's a test of artistic freedom in Israel's cultural landscape. Marianne Awuya, PS News.
Nigeria's Super Eagles have dropped to 45th in the latest FIFA rankings, raising alarm over the team's recent form and their chances in upcoming qualifiers. Joycelyn is on the sports desk.
Nigeria's Super Eagles have slipped to 45th in the latest FIFA ranking, raising fresh concerns ahead of upcoming international qualifiers. The new ranking, released by FIFA, reflects recent struggles by the Nigerian team in both friendliness and competitive fixtures. Once considered among Africa's most formidable football sides, the Super Eagles' drop in global standing has intensified calls for urgent reforms in coaching, strategy, and player development. Analysts say the slip could impact Nigeria's seeding in future tournaments, making qualification routes tougher. Fans have also voiced frustration, urging the Nigerian Football Federation to address lingering issues on consistency and management. With key qualifiers approaching, the spotlight is now on the Super Eagles to bounce back and prove they remain a force to reckon with on the global stage. Reporting for PS News, Joycelyn Ella Keche Ada.
And that's the bulletin on PSN Newsrun. I am Oluwatosin Deba. Good evening.
You just watched PSN Newsrun, streaming exclusively on YouTube. This is your trusted voice for news that matters. Subscribe, like, share, and stay informed.